You don't lose in life because you're quiet. You lose because the world rewards noise and often mistakes it for value. But quiet people have an advantage, actually. More than one. They have information and they have timing. Picture a meeting. People are talking fast. They interrupt each other. Opinions stack up like a competition. And you're there, quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're paying attention. You're reading the room, taking it all in. You rehearse a sentence in your mind, and then the moment passes. Later, you catch yourself wondering, why am I like this? If that feels familiar, you're not alone. Here's what's really happening. We often confuse noise with competence. Fast answers can feel like confidence. Big reactions can look like leadership. But in real life, the person who speaks the most isn't always the person who understands the most. So let me give you a simple map. 3 advantages quiet people already have, even if they don't realize it yet. The first is the information advantage. The second is the timing advantage. And the third is the depth advantage. Once you understand these, being quiet stops feeling like a flaw and starts feeling like a strength you can use. Let's start with the information advantage. In loud environments, most people are speaking to be noticed. Quiet people are observing. You notice who avoids the real question. You notice what emotionally activates the room. You notice patterns forming because you're not busy performing. That isn't weakness, that's information. And information is powerful because it shows you what's actually happening, not just what people want others to see. In meetings, the loudest person often wins the moment, but the observant person wins the outcome because they understand what decision is really being made. Now, the timing advantage. Quiet people often miss recognition, not because they're wrong, but because they speak last or they stay silent. So here's a gentle shift. You don't need to talk more. You only need to speak earlier. Once. Not a speech, just one sentence that brings clarity to the room. For example, before we decide, what problem are we actually solving? What would need to be true for this to fail? Can we define success in one clear sentence? When you ask a question that organizes the room, you don't need to raise your voice. The room naturally becomes quiet because people are listening. And finally, the depth advantage. Extroversion is often wired for speed, quick responses, fast energy, constant interaction. Introversion is often wired for processing, patterns, meaning, nuance, systems. That's why you need time alone, not because something is wrong with you, but because your mind completes thoughts that others leave unfinished. Quiet minds don't always win conversations, they solve problems. And here's the part many people don't talk about. Someone listening to this has probably spent years trying to fix themselves, forcing small talk, forcing confidence, forcing a personality that doesn't quite fit. You leave social situations feeling drained, and then you feel guilty for feeling drained. You hear, speak up, and what you really hear is, be someone else. And when you can't, you quietly decide you're failing. But you're not failing. You're just playing a game that rewards performance when your real strength is precision. So here's the invitation. What if you stopped trying to be louder and started being more intentional? What if you trusted your awareness instead of apologizing for it? What if you used your timing instead of forcing constant output? What if you honored your depth instead of competing with noise? Silence isn't the absence of power. Silence is power that knows when to speak. Now imagine the same meeting, but different. You don't rush to fill the silence. You let others reveal what truly matters to them, and then you speak. Once, clearly, gently, and it lands. You stop saying, "Sorry, I'm just an introvert," and you start thinking, "I'm built for depth, and I know how to use it. Tell me in the comments." Where do you notice yourself going quiet? In meetings, in relationships, with family, or at work? And which advantage do you want to lean into more? Information, timing, or depth? The world is already loud. What it needs now is people who see clearly and speak with intention. See beyond the surface,